Okay, we are at tutorial number 3. I want to do an overview of that before I begin the tutorial rather than at the end. And that way you'll understand what we're doing as we do it. The first thing we need to do, of course, is to create the app that we're going to use here on in forward. We're going to create a navigation controller. We'll explain what that means shortly. We're going to add the navigation controller to the nib. Visually, we're going to add it so that the user has something to interact with. We're going to connect what we created here to what's visual here so that the user can then interact with the program. And then we're going to set that navigation controller equal to the main Windows root view controller. It's a little confusing at this point, but what it means is in order for us to see the navigation controller, we must have it equal, or it becomes the root view controller. Alright, so we're going to go into Xcode right now. We're going to create a new project, and we're going to start with our Windows base as we did before. We're going to call this demo, your company, instead of mine. We're going to leave this as an iPhone device family. We're going to leave the core data and the unit tests unchecked as well, and we're going to set this on our desktop. Okay. Alright, so we're just going to do a little cleanup work here quickly. I'm going to create a new group here, actually 2 new groups, and I'm going to call this one here, right click on it and call this one classes, and right click on this one and call it views. And this is only for a little organization for us. We're going to drag the demo app into the classes. There we go. Both the declarative and where we declare it when we implement. Okay. First thing, we're going to come over here to the demo app delegate. We're going to copy this line here. We need to create another outlet. An outlet is anything that interacts with the user. Since our navigation controller interacts with the user, it requires an outlet. In other words, anything, if it's going to be a text box, if it's going to be a label, those require outlets, and they're going to interact with the user. They're going to require an outlet. So we need an outlet here. We're going to type here navigation controller as the name. This is going to be the name of our object. Okay, this is the class of our object and the name. It's an outlet. We're going to retain it in memory, so we must release it at some point. We're going to let the setters and getters of the program, when we synthesize it, create the setters and getters as opposed to us. If we look at this little warning here, and it's not an error but it's a warning, it's telling us we have to synthesize. So we're going to do that next. Actually, we're going to just deselect that. Whoops, sorry. There we go. And we're going to come over here, right, put a comma in there, type in the letter N now. IntelliSense brings up our object for us very nicely. We're going to press return. We're then going to set the equals and then underscore navigation controller. Now I want to stop here for just a second. You're not going to see these underscores from this point forward. They're going to rarely be used because whatever we typically synthesize, we use the same name as the item that we have, the object that we've created here. And you notice it went away, by the way. The warning means we've done what we've had to do. There are reasons why they do this. Window and navigation controller are words that Xcode doesn't like objects, or variables I should say, these are the variables, to be named as, so the underscore is used. Anything else is fair game. Okay, so we did that, we took care of that. We're going to save these two, Command S, and they're going to go from gray to black, from gray to white. We're going to go to our main nib here. We're going to go to the Hide or Show Utilities tab, And we have our objects here. If you highlight these here, the object library is selected. There's other libraries here. We're worried about this one. That's what we want. We're going to move into that object library and find, there it is, our navigation controller. We could have started with a tab bar controller if we wanted. It didn't matter, but we want navigation controller. It is a typical, you're going to drag it, the typical type of controller you find in an app. So we're going to drag that and lay it on the desktop right there. We're going to center everything. I'm going to just bring the window below it to the center, and we're going to put this over it. Okay. Some things now. We're in the attributes inspector here. That's what's selected. Alright. I want to select the navigation bar in the attributes. Well, actually, I'm sorry. I want to select the navigation controller where I was. Notice what's visible. Because it's checked, it's visible. Now, I want a toolbar as well. Beginning to look familiar like an app would? Of course it is. Then we're going to select the navigation bar, and this is a tint, or the color of it. I'm going to just click into it and select other. So again, you select in here, click into it, and click other. I'm going to type in a color I came up with before I did this tutorial on the RGB sliders. When I select that color, I get the color of the navigation controller. I'm going to do the same thing for the toolbar. May not be the best color in the world, but, and of course our RGB sliders keep the last color. So here's where, if you select it, it just changed the color. Okay. So I want those colors, and you can make them whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. Darker is usually better, but it's up to you. We're going to select the navigation controller at this point. I'm sorry, no we're not. We're going to select this view controller and then open this up, and the navigation item is what we want. That's the item here, which gives us this font, this title here. We're going to deselect this and call this our demo app. Okay. And that's going to change our text up here, right in here in our navigation item, because that's our item that's here, our very first item. Don't worry about prompt right now or back button. We're covering a lot of ground. So basically we have our navigation controller set up. We're not finished. If we double click on the demo app, select it first, but I apologize. Select it first, double click on it. You'll notice that the referencing outlet is already set. The delegate, or what delegates information to the app delegate, is linked to the file's owner. What that means is the information coming from the demo app delegate here comes from these files. Alright, hope I got that clear. Same thing too, highlight your navigation controller, double click it. There's no referencing outlet. We need one. We need to tie in what we've created here to the instance in here. One would think we would tie to the file's owner, but no, we don't have to. The demo app delegate is tied to the file's owner. We need to tie to the demo app delegate. Watch what happens. Click, drag, drop, and there is our object, or actually I should say, to be more correct, our variable. Our outlet, pardon me, I'm sorry, not even our outlet that we created, which is an object, not variable, but the outlet. We click on that, and now it places that in here. So the object, or the outlet we created here, is now tied to the visual here, which means whatever happens within our visual interacts now with our program. I hope that I got that clear. We're not done yet. If we were to try to run this at this point, and we'll do it, I just want to show you, we're not going to see this beautiful navigation controller. We're going to see our white screen. So why? It's because we haven't properly linked it to the window. Okay? The word self indicates that anything that's declared within this class, not above this class or below it, but within this class. Self, window, root view controller. It says take the window and its root view controller and set it equal to self navigation controller. All right. So the window, its root is the root view controller. It is the highest, or I should say, the very first view you see is the root view controller. Hence root view. Tie it to the navigation controller. So I'm going to just type that in here. Make, this is commenting, the root view equal to the, navigation controller, to make the navigation controller visible. Okay. That's what that line does. I'm going to put a space here just for the sake of that one. And then here, over here, I'm going to put some commenting here. By the way, 2 forward slashes allows you to comment in Xcode. And then make the window visible. Alright. Okay. And there you have it. So if we run this right now, and there you have it, our demo app. There is our navigation controller. We haven't done anything with it. In the next tutorial, we're going to start building on this navigation controller. We're going to put some buttons in, and then we're going to add our first view to it, which will be a table view of items to select from. So that's tutorial number 3. I'm going to post this code, or this part of the demo code, on my web page, which is tied. It will be tied into my YouTube page. So see you later, and I hope this was informative to you. Again, we created the navigation controller object and its variable. We created the navigation controller in the view, tied them together by linking them, and then made sure our navigation controller became our root view. Alright? Take care.